Well, there's three things that you need to change the world. Passion, courage, and imagination. That's all it takes to change the world.
I have imagination that could help save the planet, and that changed my whole life forever.
We have to be honest about these climate change conferences. They're basically photo opportunities for politicians.
People rely on the sea for tourism, and there's like even 70% of the Brazilians, they live by the coast, but they don't see the value of this.
Sea Shepherd is not a protest group. We're an intervention group. If we don't abide by the laws of ecology, 8 billion people will die. So it's really up to us to prevent that from happening. This anthropocentric mentality, it's all about us. We're the only species that matter. Everything was created for us. That's the predominant philosophy. We have to learn from indigenous people that we're part of everything, that we're connected to everything, and that's the law of interdependence. We're not an island independent of everything else.
Your actions every day, they are mini revolutions.
It isn't the planet Earth. This is the planet Ocean.
You don't need to be a marine biologist. You don't need to be an activist, a mariner, or anything. You just need to have your passion and dedicate your talents towards the many things that the ocean needs. There are many ways that you can help the ocean. We need a huge army for it, and everybody can help a little bit, and we're gonna get there.
Fala galera, chega aqui, esse é o CRIA RAIZ especial de verão, eu sou a Kamila Camilo, sua host. E esse especial é em parceria com Mãos Dadas e o Resurf, que há 10 anos transforma garrafas PET em pranchas de surf novinha. E eu tenho um prazer imenso de receber aqui comigo Paul Watson, fundador do Greenpeace e da Sea Shepherd, e a Nathalie Gil, atual diretora executiva do Sea Shepherd Brasil, para uma conversa sobre oceanos, sobre natureza, ativismo e como a gente pode se mobilizar. Eu vou conduzir a entrevista em inglês, mas você pode assistir com as legendas em português. Thank you so much, Paul and Nathalie, for being here today with us at Mãos Dadas. It is an absolute honor to welcome both of you here. I want to start with you, Paul, just right on spot, asking you a little bit about when aggressive nonviolence becomes something, when you realize that we need to jump from campaigns, which is also important, messaging is important, but go to straight action and mobilize.
Well, as a co-founder of Greenpeace, I led a campaign to Labrador to protect seals, and a sealer is about to kill a seal, so I grabbed the club and threw it in the water and picked up the seal, took it to safety. And Greenpeace said that was unacceptable because I had stolen the man's property and destroyed his property. But I was there to save the life of that seal, and that's what I did. So they said that that kind of action wasn't welcome in Greenpeace. So I said, okay, well, I left Greenpeace to set up Sea Shepherd, and with that strategy of aggressive nonviolence, which is to intervene, to not cause injury, but to shut down something which is cruel or illegal. And it's worked for us very well for 50 years.
Yeah, and then looking to what we are living today as activism, especially in the environment, that people were mooring sofas that actually on streets or in the sea. How do you believe that we can change that and really get people from fear to action?
Well, there's three things that you need to change the world. Passion for what you want to do, protecting an ecosystem, protecting a species, the courage to act, and the imagination to come up with ideas on how to achieve what you need to achieve. So a passion, courage, and imagination, that's all it takes to change the world. Now, what everybody has to do is find out, what are you passionate about? What do you really care about? Is it an endangered species? Is it an ecosystem? And then just devote yourself to doing everything you can to protect that. And we see so many examples of that. Because of Diane Fossey, we had mountain gorillas still in Rwanda, and look at the work of Jane Goodall and Baruti Geldicos. So many people who've made a difference precisely because they had the passion to do it.
Yeah, and talking about passion, I want to move to Nathalie. And you made a huge transition in your career, and how you find your passion and then transform this passion in actual doing something we're planning.
Yeah, I think to give context to the audience, I for 70 years I worked in a kind of conventional way in big corporations here in Brazil and also abroad, and I never actually thought that I had the power really to make a change. I was having a feeling that, I could change the system from within, but it was just one of many. But it was when I reached rock bottom is when I stopped lying to myself that, I could change the system from within. And I decided to drop everything and see what I could do, what passion, that could drive me in my life. And that's when not that I didn't know Paul Watson and Sea Shepherd by then. Of course I did, but I never thought I was actually capable to be chosen and actually do something for the planet. And I volunteered myself, and they asked me to join one of their ships, and I learned a lot about myself in the process, and that I'm courageous. I have imagination that could help save the planet, and that changed my whole life forever. It was always something inside me just waiting to come out, and now it's never gonna go back in again. So
I think so.
yeah.
And Paul, how you nourish your passion?
How I don't. It's sort of a consistent thing. I tell. No,
Or like that.
Yeah. When I was very young, I came to the realization that if the ocean dies, we die, and we have to do everything we can to make sure that we protect the integrity of diversity and interdependence in the sea, because we are absolutely dependent for our survival on a healthy ocean.
So talking about like the health of the ocean, I was just reading the topics for COP30, and ocean is not making in even the top 10. How can we bring ocean to those main stages?
Well, it wasn't mentioned at COP21 until we lobbied to get it on there, and then it was just sort of a token sort of thing. But I don't think there's a realization of just how important the ocean is. The ocean regulates climate and temperature. It's the key factor. And but for the most part, let's look at we have to be honest about these climate change conferences. They're basically photo opportunities for politicians. They don't really accomplish much. So we're going to test it, because at the last UN conference in Nice in France, they did ratify the High Seas Treaty on the protection of biodiversity beyond national jurisdictions. That comes into effect on January 17th. We intend to be down in the Southern Ocean to confront the krill fishery on that day, and to say, okay, let's really test this High Seas Treaty if it means anything at all. So we're gonna do that.
And like they ratify the treaty in the year where coral reefs are like literally in the turning point, and then and we've been seeing overfishing happening like more and more every year. I would just like a little bit more on mobilizing. We are in the beach here in Rio. People rely on the sea for tourism, and there's like even 70% of the Brazilians, they live by the coast, but they don't see the value of the coast.
Yeah, that's the issue with society as a whole, really, the modern society as a whole, right? Because we as humanity, we always live depending on water for very strongly. Indigenous people, they know that water is the stream of life to people, to any life on earth, really. But modern society turned their backs on the ocean. We treat the ocean like a supermarket. We take everything out of the ocean, and we treat the ocean like our the end of our house, where we put all the trash we don't want to see, thinking it's going to be solved by itself.
And talking a little bit more like about Sea Shepherd work in Brazil, how can society engage with you, and if you can give a little bit more context of the history of Sea Shepherd here.
So Paul Watson founded Sea Shepherd, but out in 1999 in Brazil. So it's one of the oldest, let's say, chapters of Sea Shepherd. And from there till now, so 25 years, we've been focusing on dismantling illegal crime here, also exposing the crime, and doing beach cleanups, as well as educating people, doing some courses as well on, for example, oil spillage. But in the last 5 years, we expanded to have now 5 campaigns running. One of them is focused in the Amazon, because we see the Amazon River basin as an extension to the ocean. So we do an operation there to protect river dolphins, also manatees, from poaching, illegal poaching, and also dying as bycatch of predatory fishing. So we work there with patrolling, with indigenous people, really protecting a very important area of the Amazon. Also with research, we do a partnership with INPA, Instituto Nacional de Pesquisas da Amazônia, that exposes how critical is those animals' health. We also work to protect the sharks. We do protect turtles as well, but sharks is a big campaign we have here because Brazil don't realize we're the largest consumer of sharks in the world.
Yeah.
So
We like call cação.
we call them cação, and actually we're just cleaning up a very destructive industry of shark fins that send the rest of the carcass of the shark to places like Brazil, and Brazil is the largest importer. So we need to educate Brazilians that we are actually contributing to a killing market. And by the way, it's really bad for our health. It's not just bad for the animal themselves and the environment, but also for our health. And our Ministry of Health recommends that for kids and babies. We need to change that urgently.
Yeah. So
And anyway, we work with advocacy there and a lot of awareness work and research. And we also have work for plastic pollution, against it, of course, and to protect whales from all the human threats they have here in Brazil at our coasts.
yeah, so this is such an important work. And I'm saying, like, I'll just jump back to Paul. Your documentary is coming up, Watson. And I know, like, a lot of people know you, but can you tell us a little bit about, like, the film and the documentary and what people can expect?
Well, the film was made by Leslie Chilcott, and it's really a look back at my life and what we've done. So it's sort of a call to action. But you have to understand that Sea Shepherd is not a protest group. We're an intervention group. We're upholding international conservation law because governments are refusing to do it. There's a lack of economic and political motivation to uphold the law. So that's why we have to do what we do. And, when you're talking about 25 years ago, I actually said that in 25 years, we're going to lose our coral reefs. Of course, nobody listened, and that's what's happening right now. So all the, in fact, back then I was called a doom and gloom Cassandra. And I said, well, that's all very well, but if anybody knows the story of Cassandra, she was she prophesied these things, doom and gloom, but she was right. So the people should have listened to her, and they should listen to environmentalists who are putting out these warnings right now that, we're in serious trouble if we don't actually address the root cause of the problems. And the root cause is basically human greed, trying to extract as much profit from the natural world as we can, and without any vision as to the future or the consequences of what we're doing.
And what this vision of the future should look like?
What it should look like? Well, there's two ways that things are going to go. Either we're going to continue on the way we're doing, and then that'll probably result in ecological collapse and the devastation of the humanity, or we can take measures to avert that by taking positive actions to try and solve and address the problems. Recently I was accused that Paul Watson wants to kill 8 billion people. Never said that. What I said was that if we don't abide by the laws of ecology, 8 billion people will die. So it's really up to us to prevent that from happening.
And I don't know why, but it seems that it's really difficult for people to understand what to do and how to do it. And
Well, why they don't understand is that we've been brought up all our lives with this anthropocentric mentality. It's all about us. We're the only species that matter. Everything was created for us. That's the predominant philosophy. We have to learn from indigenous people that we're part of everything, that we're connected to everything, and that's the law of interdependence. We don't live in a world without bees and trees and whales and fish. We simply don't. Without insects. If insects were to disappear, we would die. We couldn't continue. If phytoplankton were to disappear from the sea, we would die. So we're totally dependent upon that. So we have to learn to live in harmony with all of these other species and take into account that we have an obligation and responsibility to do everything to protect them. We're not an island independent of everything else.
yeah, and it is so hard to live behind our comfort lives. The other day, I was giving a speech in an event, and I told people that, like, if you really want to make a difference, you're gonna reconsider a few things in your own life. But individual solutions, it's not enough, because we have like this corporate folks, we have this systemic the system that is developed to, you know, make us believe that it's like individual solutions.
My answer to that is I didn't come from a wealthy family, but they did get wealthy, and I could have the option of like working as a big director in London up till now, receiving huge amounts of money.
Yeah.
I gave that all away. I don't regret it. It's not actually seen even as a sacrifice to me, because I think when you I always think your actions every day, they're mini revolutions. They're mini types of activism you can give back to the world. You know, when we recognize the value the world has, when you recognize how sacred that is, how precious it is, and how you have to take care of it, every single choices you have, if you know they're actually better for the planet or less harmful for the planet, that is such a pleasure. When you actually fulfill your purpose like that, it is such a pleasure. And that's the only thing you can control. You cannot control corporations. You probably can control politicians choosing who to vote, for sure. You have a power. And also corporations, you can control not incentivizing the ones that actually destroy the planet too much. So that's the only thing you actually can impact the world with. Why wouldn't you? Why would you give up just thinking, oh, it's not enough for the planet? It's definitely worth your, for you yourself, for you to feel actually that you are much more connected to the planet, and you are actually, you know, with this biocentric view in the way you live. It is, for me, the best salary you could have, you know, the best way of living you could possibly have for yourself.
Definitely. I 100% agree. The thing is, I've been seeing people trying to justify, like, we are here at the Rio de Janeiro after a horrible thing is done by the states. And it's like, to your point, people think that it's all about people, and we need to talk about this interconnectedness that we have. But also we have these structures like states and corporations that has been made people believe that it's all about them as well. You know, like we design cities for people not experience nature. So like, from your perspectives, both of you, how can we reclaim our relationship in nature then?
Well, we always have to speak to the truth of what nature is and what its relationship is to us, and how we, each and every one of us, has the power to make a difference. I was really impressed a couple of days ago. Billie Eilish said to all these billionaires, says, "What's the point of having all that money? Why don't you do something with it?" You know, and that's it. People accumulate material things, and they don't really think about the consequences of what they're doing, and that's why the world is in the state that it's happening right now. We have to recognize what is true wealth. The true wealth is living in harmony with nature, and being happy with, you know, within your environment, and that. And also, I think we have to understand or re-understand what this planet is. It isn't the planet Earth. This is the planet ocean. It is the ocean, and it's water in continuous circulation. And sometimes it's in the sea out here, sometimes it's in the clouds, sometimes underground, sometimes locked in ice, and sometimes it's in the cells of every plant and animal on the planet. Water constantly moving through all those mediums. So the water in your body right now was once recently in the ocean, or it was once in the body of a jaguar, or in a redwood tree. It's constantly moving. So we are the ocean, and we have to take care of ourselves.
And to sum on that is, it's always question, what is a richer life? You know, you being in a very expensive mansion, having all the material needs you could possibly think of, or you being so interconnected with nature that you are living a simple life, but really impacting almost nothing, and really fulfilling your soul with it, you know? So it's just a matter of us reshaping the paradigm of what is happiness and what is meaning. Surely when we actually see ourselves as a part of this planet ocean, we see the whole planet in a much more humble way. We're not on the top of the value chain. We're actually just in the middle of it, and we depend on all species to actually exist in this planet. We're just one of many, not the best, right?
Yeah, for sure. To go to the end of this interview, that I'm so grateful to be here at the end, it's that I know probably a lot of people ask this question to both of you as voices. Like, if you're the voice of the ocean, We've been talking this conversation about humanity, and now, like, if we could put words in the ocean's voice, what words people need to hear from the ocean?
Well, we can speak for the ocean because we are the ocean, and therefore we need to, for people to understand just how important this ecosystem that we live in is, both on land and in sea and everything. It is what keeps everything alive and moving. It is the future. It's where we're going. And the one bit of advice I constantly give to, especially to young people, is to not get depressed or pessimistic about the future, because you have no power over the future at all, but you have absolute power over the present. And so what you do in the present, what you focus on, will define what the future will be. So that's what we have to concentrate our energies on, doing what we can with the skills and abilities that each of us have to make it a better world. And because the strength of an ecosystem is in diversity, the strength of a movement is diversity. Education, litigation, legislation, activism, art, all of these things are what will make this a better world.
For sure. And also, I invite people to think that the planet and the ocean, consider the moment of today, COP30 and everything we are unfortunately watching all over the world, think that the planet and the ocean is hiring. We are in a moment that we need more people in this movement. You don't need to be a marine biologist. You don't need to be an activist, a mariner or anything. You just need to have your passion and dedicate your talent towards the many things that the ocean needs: communications, advocacy, or even writing, or cooking, like cooking vegan meals or whatever. There are many ways that you can help the ocean. We need a huge army for it, and everybody can help a little bit, and we're gonna get there. So.
And what it takes to get any movement off the ground is only 7% of the population. If you get 7% of the population, you got a movement that will continue. A civil rights movement, women's rights movement, just needs 7%. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but right now we have more subscribers to Warcraft than we have active environmentalists. So we're still a long ways to go. But once we achieve that 7%, then we have a movement that will then begin to snowball. And we'll be able to make real progress, because sometimes people say, well, the problem is impossible to solve. Well, the solution to an impossible problem is you find the impossible answer. And the best example I know of that is in 1972, the very idea that Nelson Mandela would be president of South Africa. That was unthinkable. That was impossible. Nobody would even dream of it. And yet that became possible.
Yeah. And I hope we can do the impossible right now, because we really need it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lo. Thank you, Nathalie. It was my absolute pleasure. I hope we can bump to each other again very soon. Muito obrigada a você que acompanhou todo o especial de verão do CRIA Raiz em parceria com Mãos Dadas e Resurf. Essa última conversa com Paul Watson e a Nathalie Gil foi muito importante para mim, e eu espero que tenha tocado a sua vida também. Que essas conversas continuem, que a gente possa gerar transformação, que a gente possa se mover da inércia do nosso sofá ou da ideia da transformação na internet para pôr em prática, para ir para a rua, para dar as mãos na praia. Se a gente se unir enquanto sociedade, a gente pode fazer a mudança que o mundo está esperando da gente. Continua essa conversa com a gente realmente pode mudar o mundo uma conversa por vez. Obrigado e tchau, tchau.